This
Disciplined
conference will
Agile
now
has
be
uh,
recorded.
Disciplined Agile has been a buzzword in the project management and the Agile circles for quite some time, and now it's one of the most sought learning and certification. So let me give you a quick background of what do we do as a pro PMO, as an organization in this value chain. So when we move to the next slide, we'll quickly tell you. Pro PMO was started in the year 2017 by the passionate project professional Rajaram and the industry veterans, with a single vision: be the one-stop shop PMO solution provider across the industry segments. So there were gaps in what industry demanded versus the individual supply was. It was either in terms of the project management knowledge or education, consulting. So what we did is, um, we wanted to make sure that whatever the knowledge individual possess, how it is also applied to the practical work scenario. So with this, the mission was developed to offer the tailored solution to achieve business success through effective program, project, portfolio management practices, and established PMO. Now, how are we doing it? So, if I were to simply put it, we are bringing an equilibrium by providing project management education and consulting services to the professionals and corporates at large. When I say corporate, not just the big companies, but also the small and medium scale industries who can't afford the expensive resources but want these expertise in order to move up the value chain. So here we provide business agility consulting and education services, career development, PMO as a service, PMO implementation, and PMO consulting. And in the next slide, I will tell you much more about it. So, in Pro PMO, we have two major verticals. One is PMO, which is Project Management Organization, and second is Career Buddy Online. What does these two verticals majorly do? So in PMO, we primarily provide the business agility consulting and education. One of them being the disciplined agile training that currently we are going to talk about. We all know that agile practices are in the evolution for quite some time, and industries are really struggling to absorb the rapid transformation. So here, PMI, which is the Global Institute of Project Management Institute, headquartered in US, has understood this gap in advance. And what they did is, through DA, they're advocating and adopting, helping the companies to adopt the blended approach of absorbing the rapid change as well as scale up. Of course, the first step for this is individuals and organizations to invest in maturing their capabilities. And you will learn more in this coming slides. Whilst we do that, as an organization, we also provide the OPM3, which is the project maturity model, organization project maturity model, which helps through which we help deliver the PMO solutions by assessing where your organization is currently at, where you want to be, and how we can help you to get you there. Of course, all this can be done only if you have a right human capital. So here, through Career Buddy Online, we also help provide you the resources, either a temporary or a permanent, basis your needs, through a professional skill index assessment. So this is basically a very unique approach, which is a patent pending, but first of its kind, where we help you to help the guy to help get the right resources. People who are right people for the right job. And how do we do that? Is via the internal resource management, where we help them upskill through various options like mentoring, learning, developing your career path, all those things. So these are the various offerings that we have at large. Uh, we will dwell more into it once if we get more time in the end, but this is a quick overview about our organization. Now, coming to the current session in the next slide, I'll introduce you our two trainers, who are majorly going to speak around it, and we have the third trainer as well. So one is Harish Honwar. So he is one guy who has ample of experience in this industry right now. He has almost handled 30,000 workforce at one shot, at one time. So he comes with a very extensive experience in the project management as well as IT, and different industries like data. telecom, life sciences, and BFSI. And we also have Pranya, who is one of the most expert trainers that we have for these trainings. I'll quickly go to the next slide and talk about the few facts. So obviously you see, certain numbers out there like 463, 30, Pranya, and 4. Now, what does this mean? So to give you an essence of what this means are, so in India, currently we only have 463 DA certified professionals, disciplined agile certified professionals. So when you do this course, you become one of the part of this league. Second is there are only 30 disciplined agile lean scrum masters. So when you do this course, if you're already a agile practitioner, if you're already a lean practitioner, and when you do the certification and you get certain and you qualify the criteria of your experience along with your certification by passing through the exam, then you come into the league of top 50 DLSM certified individuals in India. Now, why Pranya as a name, right? So Pranya is the first female certified disciplined agile instructor in India and the only female in India who has been certified on this. And of course, there are only 4 CD certified disciplined agile practitioners in India. So why am I sharing this? Is because when you do this, when you learn more about this course of disciplined agile, when you decide to be a part of it, you are already going to be in the league of the early adopters of these practices. And of course, like this, you're going to have also a quiz and trivia ahead, and the top 10 people who will be the quiz winners will get the 10% discount on our courses as well. So without much ado, I'll hand it over to Harishar. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Atik, and good morning to everybody. Top of the Saturday morning to you. And we want to congratulate you for having invested in this journey for learning or knowing more about disciplined agile. So we may not have time right now to go around and introduce everyone, but I want to wish all the participants of this webinar a happy learning along with my colleague, Pratnya, the first lady who we have here. So she's going to step in along with me, and both of us are going to deliver over the next 15-20 minutes some aspects of why or what is business agility. So I hope you can hear me, and with that confirmation, I'd like to go ahead.
Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Amit. So basically, most organizations, when they talk about agile, they usually focus on a small set of people who are doing either software or a product which we call as a solution, which they want to offer to their customers. And typically this team, which is very focused on how they want to build this solution, they typically use agile methods. And we want to give an analogy that this team is more like an engine of a car. And this engine is usually, they've been practicing what they know of agile methods. They've invested in certain processes, and they are also trying to do their best to come out with characteristics or features of a product that are most required or most valued by their consumers and customers. So if we look at that as an engine of a motor vehicle, then we also need the entire organization to support this team in many ways. Business agility is defined as the ability of an organization to quickly adapt to the changing needs. So we are living in times that are changing rapidly. There are technological advancements all the time. Your customer also keeps learning along with you, and your consumers also, they want features that are different or for their needs quite different from existing offerings, and they're always looking for something refreshing, something new, something that reduces their effort and basically makes life easy for them. So eventually, if you are in this digital business, in the software business, also any business for that matter which uses software, for delivering its products, its services to customers, to end customers, to reach out to them, to communicate and collaborate with them, are basically going to use some form of business agility. With that kind of an introduction, I'd like to go ahead and welcome all of you to this webinar. So I talked about this team, which typically develops software, and that's the team at the center. But if you look at the agile offerings that have been so far, they have been around for almost 2 decades, about almost 20 years and more. And they are guided by an agile manifesto, which has basically 4 values and 12 principles. And all that is agile is garnered around this manifesto and how people understand and interpret it. However, most of these agile methods, they have limited rules. So if you take a typical organization, it has roles like, for example, finance. It has roles like security, IT operations, people management, procurement, right from your admin, your HR, your many more departments that you have in an organization, all of them play a part in trying to deliver to your customer. And the ability to recognize these stakeholders, which we call them, anybody who is involved or influenced by the product or service that is going to a customer, unless that person is involved, we do not engage everybody. So most of these agile methods, they don't have a role for everybody, and this is a challenge because there is somebody who's very capable, very certified, and he says that I'm a person who is certified in your security, and I want to come and see how I can add value to your organization, to your products. And typically, if you take an agile a method like Scrum, it has only 3 roles, and then most people try to find out what their role is and how can they be involved. Most of the times businesses who are working around the development people, they keep waiting and watching till these people go through their regular ceremonies, they go through their methods, and they're trying to wait patiently and sometimes become impatient with agile. So the need to recognize who all are your stakeholders who have a stake in your quote to cash workflow in an organization, need to recognize the fact that business agility is something where they all have a role to play. How can you have that role understood and how can they evolve their way of working is the essence of today's webinar for Disciplined Agile. What we'd like to do is to try and engage you a little further, because what we want to build on for Disciplined Agile depends a lot on how well you understand your own agile investment so far. Do you understand the theory, the applications? Have you been able to apply your agile methods to solve your own organizational problems? So to that effect, we have some kind of an interaction which we want you to participate with us. So I'll move ahead and um, get you there. Some brief background that we want to share at this stage, that Disciplined Agile has been recently acquired by Project Management Institute about August of last year. However, DA has been around for more than 10 or 12 years, and the same people who are kind of heading the DA in PMI have been the authors of a book called Disciplined Agile Delivery for many years. And now, after PMI has invested in it, there has been a wonderful amalgamation of the classic project management techniques that PMI already has certifications on, and Disciplined Agile is now getting integrated with all of that. So as we go forward, we will see that there is a wonderful synergy between the old project management techniques as well as some of the latest new concepts in Disciplined Agile. So I repeat that Disciplined Agile is a reimagining of Agile. It's taking another look at how Agile methods are, how can they be, harnessed, improved. So really a Disciplined Agile is an agnostic hybrid. So there are many agile methods that are there. Some of them are lightweight, some of them are heavyweight. So for example, Scrum, Kanban, Lean at the bottom of that brick there, that wall there, are simple agile methods, or people start with that. They bring in extreme programming for improvement of their quality. They bring in a unified process and agile modeling techniques to make sure that architecture and is really something that can be agile. And then we have a lot of good practices that are being adopted from SAFe, from DevOps, from our own PMBOK, which is the PMI body of knowledge, and so on. So there is a lot that has come into Disciplined Agile. It's more like a process toolkit as we examine it. And before we go further into Disciplined Agile, we'd like to engage all of you in a small quiz. So here is a way to join that quiz. We have 3 ways. We're going to use a small tool called Slido, and you could go to slido.com and enter this number 46010, and then you'll be able to enter the quiz. Or you can click on the link here that's shared, or on your mobile phones itself you can scan that QR code. It will take you to that quiz. So I'll have Amit to drive this quiz so that we give you the number of questions. You'll have to respond a little quickly, less than 20 or 30 seconds per question, and we'll get a quick idea from your fastest finger round as to what our organization, what our participants are, where are they as per their agile journey. And please don't worry about the marking or anything else. Nothing will be displayed here, but we just want to get a feel on whether our participants are comfortable with basic agile knowledge or not. Based on that, we have some recommendations for you. So over to Amit to conduct this quiz.
Thank you, Harish sir. I can see there are 7 people who have already joined the quiz. I'll give you like 30 more seconds so that all of us can get into that quiz. Meanwhile, I'll just update you that there are like 4 questions in this quiz. Multiple choice questions. You have to choose one answer, and it's a fastest finger first thing. So along with accuracy, speed also matters. And after every question, we'll just show a quick leaderboard who is leading. So anyways, in the first question, if you are not on the leaderboard, we still have 3 more questions. You can do it faster and get to there. I can see there are 8 people who have joined. Like 10 more seconds, and then we'll start the quiz.
The link is also provided in chat window, so those can quickly click the link in chat window.
Okay, I think we should start it now. There are 9 people as of now. I'll start the quiz now. You see the first questions. There are 25 seconds to answer. Two. Okay, the correct answer is lean startup. 11% people have
Amit, I made you as the presenter. You want to share your screen? No problem.
Yes, I'm sharing it. So Yash is on the leaderboard as of now. Okay, there was only one person who could answer it correctly. No problem. I'll go to the next question. Okay, 89% people said true, and the correct answer is true. Next question. Okay, 75% people said working software thing. Sorry. Which is the right answer? And Yash is leading as of now. And the last question. %7 said Scrum Master is facilitative. Let us see the correct answer. That is the correct answer. And the leaderboard says, sorry, Yash answered all the questions correctly. Total time taken was 1 minute 24 seconds. On second position, we have Neha. Then Oman, and then Vishu. And right, so I think we are done with this quiz. We will have one more quick quiz post this session, and that would be mostly based on the session that we are going to have. So request you to please ensure that you pay full attention to the session. Harisha, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Amit. I just make sure that the presenter is switched so that my slides can continue.
Yeah.
Thank you for participating in the quiz. I hope you can see my slide. This is a good time to check. Pradnya, would you like to jump in here?
Yes. Thanks, Harishji. Thanks, Amit. I would pitch in for a couple of slides from here onwards. Thanks all participants for joining on Saturday morning. I will quickly talk about Disciplined Agile Manifesto. All of us who are familiar with Agile Manifesto, which was published in 2001, we know that the 4 values and 12 principles that are published. Over the last 20 years, there has been a lot of change in the industry, the way market changes, the way softwares are developed. So there are different aspects in which the delivery also needs to change. So DA team thought of making changes into the Agile Manifesto itself, depending on the way the changes have occurred in the industry and the way we need to actually address the business agility concept here. So as you can see here, the core principles of Agile Manifesto are kept, the essence of that is kept same, but DA Manifesto is added, DA Manifesto is changed little bit to address the business agility concept here. So you can see here that working software is replaced with consumable solution, the value number 2. So instead of saying working software over comprehensive documentation, DA Manifesto says that consumable solutions over comprehensive documentation. Customer collaboration is replaced with stakeholders. So here we can see that Disciplined Agile focuses all the stakeholders just beyond customers. We are also talking about responding to overall feedback from all stakeholders rather than the changes that we are receiving from the customers. And the last principle that is added is transparency over predictability, which comes from the lean principles of agility, right? So original Agile Manifesto had 12 principles. In DA Manifesto, there are 17 principles. So there are 5 additional principles that are added into the Disciplined Agile. So as we can see here, DA talks not only about development of software, but it talks about better ways of working. So it touches the entire aspects of our whole working. It goes beyond software development. Next slide, please. Harishi? Right. So this slide is this provides you a very basic insight about the mindset of DA. It provides, you know, the principles, promises, and guidelines. So the principles are basically the philosophical foundation for business agility, which was discussed by Harish ji. So these principles, as DA is hybrid and agnostic, they are based on both agile flow as well as lean principles. The promises are those kind of agreements, you know, how we are going to work with our teammates, how we are going to work with our stakeholders, how we are going to work with the organization as a whole, how we are going to be working in a disciplined manner so that our collaboration will be effective. And the guidelines are actually the crux where our way of working, WOW, wow is a very important word. Way of working is a very important word. The entire Disciplined Agile toolkit is based on this improving and changing our way of working. So these guidelines provide us a way to improve our way of working. So these principles, promises, and guidelines are kind of a foundation based on which Disciplined Agile entire toolkit is developed. Can we move to the next slide, please? So these are the core principles of Disciplined Agile, which talks about being awesome in every aspect of our work with an objective to delight our customers. But at the same time, because we are not only thinking about focusing on software development, we are also thinking about enterprise aspect, business agility. So think about local projects, local delivery, but do not lose focus of enterprise is what is the principle. Optimizing the entire flow of working and at the same time ensuring that keeping all the choices open, assuming the right choice based on the right option available is what is focus in Disciplined Agile. And context count is the most important principle of Disciplined Agile, where there is no spoon feeding or there is no kind of prescriptive guidance provided in Disciplined Agile. Based on the context, we would decide what is the best for our team and we would go ahead with that. And while doing all this, while choosing our way of working, we will always keep a pragmatic approach and choose what is the best by leveraging what we are already doing. So these are the core principles of Disciplined Agile based on which the entire framework is developed. Next slide. Right. So as we say, when we are talking about business agility, the very important concept of business agility is team agility. Now, what do we mean by team agility? In our organizations, we have different types of teams which are delivering different types of product delivery. So a team can have different characteristics, and our way of working should be able to work, or the way of working which we are going to define should be suiting our team. So any practices, any methodology should be adaptable to the team's features or team's characteristics that we are having, right? So how a team's characteristic can be defined? So this spider diagram is typically used to define how a team is composed of, right? So a team can have different size, the team's geographical distribution can be different, it can have different uh, uh, types of organizational distribution. It could be single or division, it could be a single company team, or it could be a mix of contracting and company team. It may have different types of compliance requirements, it could have different technical complexity, domain complexity. Now the teams which are having different combinations of these factors are having different characteristics, and there cannot be one fit for all. A process applicable for one team may not be applicable for others. The way of working of one team can be different than other team. So what Disciplined Agile says is every team has a right to choose their way of working. Every team can choose the processes which can be fitted for their own composition, and they can select and choose and evolve their practices, processes, and work accordingly. So that is the core concept of team agility, and a team will decide its practices and processes and life cycle is what disciplined agile guidance is. Next slide, please. Harishji, if you would like to take ahead.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Pradnya.
I'm
So
sorry.
I hope you are able to follow so far what we have been giving you as nuggets and the basic tenets of disciplined agile. So here is typically how a team is composed. Now, most of these uh, learnings are more or less guidelines. It's up to the team to try and follow this. So typically they have much more number of roles, and we just don't have primary roles. We also have secondary and even in some cases tertiary roles that are needed for a team. Let me first tell you what the primary roles are like. So we have somebody who's a team lead, a person who's typically well versed in agile methods, somebody who is able to be a process expert and make sure that agile can be followed by that team. So the team lead actually becomes a coach to the rest of the team members and actually shows leadership in the manner in which the teams can choose their way of working, like Pradnya mentioned. And not only way of working, the slide that you saw earlier on team agility is what gives the uh, there are two aspects of agility. One is the enterprise agility, which is for the entire organization, and then there is agility at the team's level. So team lead is responsible for making sure that the agile processes adopted by the team are followed, and also the team can evolve and change their processes over time. So typically team lead is a person who is agile process expert, keeps the team focused on the achievement of goals and removes impediment. uh, this is a primary role for a disciplined agile team. Also, along with this, the other agile roles that many of you may be familiar with is a role called product owner, a person who represents the customer to the team, the consumer to the team, has a good idea or a business sense on what is priority, making sure that the backlog or the set of requirements is well defined, is complete, is kept ready in a prioritized manner for the team to keep pulling the features to work on, is all the responsibility of a product owner. Along with the product owner is somebody who actually owns the solution from a technical point of view as to how the solution would be built. So the architecture owner is a person who makes all the technical decisions for the teams, the priorities, and not only has the architecture for the current solution, but also how the solution may evolve over time. So that is also a very primary role in disciplined agile. And the next role is for team member, which is a cross-functional agile expert. So it's people who are playing different roles in a development team, like developers, like testers. We also have other roles, apart from developers and testers, people who actually assure quality. So somebody from quality assurance, for instance, somebody who's cross-skilled, who might also help out with the release process of that solution when it is ready. Here we want to make a point that the team members need not only be software developers. This is a form of agile that can apply to any business that is digital. And a team member could be anybody who's in his or her own right, somebody who can add value to the product, whether it is in interfacing of components, whether it is in bringing about what the team really wants to do. So team member is a cross-functional role. And we also have another generic role called a stakeholder. You remember the second slide that we went through when we were talking about business agility? It could be any coordinator from any other department or any other team who is interested in this solution development, who needs to contribute to the solution. And this is a primary role in disciplined agile. So the customer or stakeholder is not kept away, but that representation is definitely here. What I wanted to point out is that the stakeholder is a person who can influence the direction of the team, especially towards the acceptance of deliverables. So whenever the deliverables are produced on quality, somebody from the customer side or somebody from the user side represents how the team has been doing, whether this is acceptable, not acceptable. this kind of a participation is there in the stakeholder. But that said, we just don't have primary roles. We also have other roles. There could be subject matter experts. There could be people who are leading the integration of operations. There are people who can also help the team in many other ways. So basically, the guidelines for a disciplined agile rule are are not rock solid. They are like guidelines, and the teams are supposed to adopt to these roles and map these rules to the existing roles in their organization. So typically, disciplined agile will not possibly cover all the roles, but this is how we want to show that disciplined agile can be a unique, combination of many roles for a team that is working in an agile mode. Also, another refreshing part of disciplined agile is that they have a number of agile what are known as life cycles, and we will also surprise you by showing you that each of these life cycles can also have what are known as phases. So you will see that the classical project management that was understood in how a life cycle of a project is viewed and then how it can have different phases is also represented in the different agile life cycles that we have. So let me start with the top of this circle. You can see at least 6 hexagons there. Let me start with the top. This is something called as an exploratory life cycle. And an exploratory life cycle is typically taken up when you do not have a clear idea of what you want to build. So this is more of investigation. This is more of experimentation. This is more of the proof of concepts. So for building a product, there may be certain aspects which are high risk. Maybe there are technological risks, or they may be a proof whether the solution or one among many choices or alternatives can be established. So for doing that, we have an exploratory life cycle. Typically, people who are doing what they are doing in agile, they will be following some form of an agile life cycle where there is a concept of a product backlog, and the team iteratively develops the solution in many cycles, something very close to what Scrum is. So if you are already familiar with Scrum, I think adopting the agile life cycle is what is the most recommended. In fact, this life cycle on the left is one of the first life cycles that people start with, and based on how they mature, they will be able to move on to any other life cycles that they have. Typically, if your team is not into development of a product or making a large change for your digital business, if you are into a support or a sustenance kind of a team, or your product has matured quite a bit, then it will augur well for your team to adopt what is known as the lean life cycle. So the difference between the agile life cycle on my left and the lean, which is below it, is that lean does not really believe in time boxing its activities. So they have a set of requirements which are broken down into tasks and activities, and typically they follow a Kanban or some kind of a visibility indicator which tells the team what is it that is priority. So they pull activities which are on priority and they work on them, and basically there is no fixed time rule. One of those activities can finish in maybe less than a day, or it may take even a longer time. So the lean method of working really typically is trying to see whether the entire team has their work in progress and limits, and they manage to optimally progress on many of these work items or tickets. So you can see that if you go to service your car or you go to some service industry, you will find that how people are able to finish the work that you want from them. We call that as a value stream. And typically a lean team would work in a very let's say I would rather use the term called as a tight manner, so that everybody knows what to do and they hand off your work. So even if you order a dish in a restaurant, there's somebody who actually prepares it, there's somebody who actually plates it and then brings it to you. So a bunch of people get involved in how the solution comes to you. So that is represented in the agile life cycle. As the team matures for an agile or a lean life cycle, they move into a continuous delivery mode. So on my right is continuous delivery agile and also continuous delivery lean. There is a difference between the agile method and the continuous agile delivery method. We'll demonstrate that as we go forward. And you will see that in a continuous delivery, you do not find typically a difference in all these three phases. It is usually one huge phase where the initiation of a new activity, its development, its release is all done together in that same life cycle. So this is how we would like to explain the continuous delivery models for Agile and Lean. And typically, sometimes you have large teams which are teams of teams. So it could be a large product where there are sub teams which work on different components or different features of a team, and then they come together and integrate them and deliver a total solution. So a program lifecycle at the bottom of this screen is the one that is typically used for delivering a team of teams exercise. Also, there's something in the center is a life cycle called as Flex, which is at a portfolio management level. It is a strategic life cycle, and it is yet being adopted. It's already there, but it's being worked on. That's why it's in a different color here. And these are the different life cycles that are required in a disciplined agile delivery team. And the team is able to start with one life cycle and choose to go to any other life cycle depending on what makes the most choice for them. So depending on the principles and guidelines, they do that. Let me move forward and typically show that these are the three phases that are typically understood in any life cycle. There is an inception phase, there is a construction phase, and there is a transition phase. And there are typical milestones that most life cycles go through. So for example, you have initiation phase where the endeavor or the project is initiated. There are boundaries where stakeholder vision is established, where the architecture is proven, and then you go into the construction phase or the implementation phase where you have more milestones such as continued viability, whether you have reached sufficient functionality, and then there is a transition phase typically towards the production and the release, is whether you are production ready and whether you have released the product and whether you have delighted stakeholders. So all these milestones are really important for a disciplined agile way of working. And as you can see, it is a much more mature form of understanding life cycles, phases, and milestones for any agile activity. I would move further and show you that we have a lot of process goals for each of these phases. So if you see the top three boxes, we are talking about the inception phase, the construction phase, and the transition phase. So these are the process goals in each of those phases. And then there is an ongoing phase at the bottom where there are some more process goals. Totally, we are talking about 21 process goals. There are about 8 in inception, 5 in construction, 2 in transition, and 6 in ongoing. To understand these process goals and to help you reach the process goals, we have a concept of what is known as a process diagram. So like we had the ITTO diagram in classical project management, which has inputs, tools, techniques, and outputs. A very similar kind of a diagram we have for looking at the goal or how to achieve the goal for any process. So on my left, I gave you an example of how a process called as explore scope is represented. The goal is represented in the left-hand side. And then each of these goals have what are known as decision points. And each of those decision points can be arrived at by a number of methods which are on the right. So you'll see that in some cases it's an ordered list. In some cases, some items are given as bold. And this is a way to understand a process goal diagram for disciplined agile. Let's move forward. And the most striking aspect of a disciplined agile team or an organization is a process called as guided continuous improvement. Agile method is always have a way of a retrospection. So they are always learning about how they do things. So every little time, every regular time they stop their implementation, they take a look at how their process is, and they come up with what are the learnings. What is it that is working well that should continue? What is it that is not working well that we may need to stop or redefine and start some activities which haven't been there? So a very simple flow chart is to take up any problem or a constraint, work on it, try the potential solutions, assess its effectiveness, adopt what works and abandon what doesn't, is a process of continuous improvement. That is the hallmark of Disciplined Agile. Here is another process chart for how the team can evolve their way of working. So typically in more intense interactions like our boot camp and like in our workshops, we take real case studies and examples of how you can apply some of these process techniques to actual real problems, and that is what gives Disciplined Agile its power. So I would like to move on and show you that there are a lot of mature concepts, like they expect the team to be enterprise aware. There are levels, there are at least 4 levels in which the Disciplined Agile works, right? From the team or individual awareness, team awareness, department awareness, and the business, the organization awareness that talks about being enterprise aware. This is how those 4 layers are organized. At the bottom, you have the life cycles for Disciplined Agile delivery. A very important concept that is not there in any other Agile implementation is a layer called Disciplined DevOps. If you actually look at it, most IT solutions are delivered to you through an organization called as DevOps. It's a combination of development and operations. And we have certain stringent process goals there. Every icon here has its own set of processes and its process goals, how we had explained earlier. And we have Disciplined Agile delivery, Disciplined Agile DevOps, Disciplined Agile IT, and then Disciplined Agile enterprise. So at these 4 levels are different guidelines as to how to make the organization agile. These are some of the benefits or the promises of why organizations embrace Disciplined Agile. I'm not going to read all of this slide, but we can have this material shared with you if you're interested. Please ask for it. So there are more than a dozen reasons why Disciplined Agile is far better than any other Agile method that you may be practicing for your organization. And we have certain career paths for people who want to embrace Disciplined Agile. You can find it on the link that we have shared on the top. Typically, that starts with a yellow belt with you being a certified Disciplined Agilist. Then you can become a green belt, which is like a practitioner or a Disciplined Agile Lean Scrum Master that people talk about. And then you can also go to a black belt or a blue belt for being a certified Disciplined Agile coach or a consultant. Basically, the instructor level is also in that. So we have a SHU, HA, and RE as they are called. SHU is at a beginner level. The green belt is typically HA, which is like an intermediate level, and black or blue is a RE, which is at an expert level. So we can give you more information about how to go about these certifications. We want to reiterate that if you try to invest in this right now, you'll be less than the top 500 people in the country who have been certified, and you'll be able to take the DA knowledge and apply it effectively in your organizations. So with that, I think we've come to the end of our webinar today. We want to open it up for interactions and questions that you may have. So I would like to hand it back over to Atik. Atik, if you're around, please let me know. I can help you change the slides as we go forward. Are there any questions? We can invite questions in the chat window, and if you already have questions, we can try and answer them.
I think participants can unmute themselves and ask the questions. Let's probably next 5 minutes, if we can be a bit more interactive. Asking questions are the right ways to understand.
So who has the first question?
Maybe Harish, I would ask you if you can elaborate a bit more on WOW.
Yeah, certainly, Rajaram. So let me go back and show you that typical process chart. WOW actually stands for your way of working. we have a disciplined agile process for that, a process diagram for that. That is here. This one. I hope you can see the screen. So it's called Evolve Your Way of Working. So most organizations, they typically start with some kind of a Scrum or some kind of a agile practice. Typically, the project teams start with Scrum, and the maintenance and support teams usually start with Kanban, and they use extended practices. Now, this is your life cycle or the way that you are working. And when you take a hard look at it, you will try to see whether this life cycle or the way that you are working is the most optimal for you to deliver solutions to your stakeholders. If that is so, then you don't need to change it. So we are not saying that just because there is a process diagram that you can evolve your way of working, you should not be changing anything that is already working well for you. However, typically that is not the case. There is always room for improvement. There is always something that a team can do much better. So what they do is they take a look at what their way of working is, and they try to make small changes so that it can address some of their top challenges or top problems. And by doing that, they are able to better handle their customers. Their way of working actually starts to deliver better. So typically agile teams, they try to have a velocity that they can keep up to. This is the first level. And then from velocity, they try to see how they can go to acceleration. That means you can do more in the same team. Then you can try and double your output, or you can half the time that you are taking for handling certain features or tickets. So this is a way of how the agile team tries to learn and improve themselves. And this process chart helps us how to do that. I hope this explanation is enough for now. In case you have more questions, please ask, and we'll delve a little deeper into it. So in typically our boot camps and our workshops, we take examples of real life problems of teams, how they can form themselves, how they can better organize themselves so that they can improve their way of working. I hope this is okay. Any other parts of the question that I didn't answer, please ask again.
Thank you, Harish. I think that was good enough. Yeah.
Okay, so whilst people are thinking on the questions, sorry, anyone wants to ask the question?
Yeah, Visu here.
Please go ahead.
Hi.
Okay, first of all, thanks for sharing it. Do you have any assessment framework which assess the people's knowledge on Agile, where they are today, and from there how they can proceed further?
Yeah, shall I take that question, or do you want to? I think, do you want to take that first?
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, Vishu, this is what we are doing. We usually have a engagement which goes on from these webinars into a boot camp and also to our workshops. Before we do that, we have these workshops which are usually 1+1+2. So the first one is about foundations of Agile, whether people understand this foundations of Agile or not. And typically we have a small test or an exam which kind of tests their practical knowledge on how they are able to apply their current Agile knowledge to practical situations. If you are able to do that, then you probably don't need that workshop. If you already have invested in an Agile certification and it is current over the last 2 or 3 years, then typically this test will prove whether you are able to apply it or not. So depending on that, we recommend to you should take this foundations of Agile. Or there is also another one for foundations of Lean, because Disciplined Agile builds on top of both Agile and Lean principles. So a good understanding of both Agile and Lean is required. So we have our own typical exams, which are very similar to the certification exams that PMI or Disciplined Agile Consortium will use. So this will help you assess you or your organization or your team members as to how far you have come for your basic understanding. Having said that, for Agile and Lean, if you clear those, then there is an assessment that is required for your understanding and application of Disciplined Agile itself. So we feel that Disciplined Agile is a mature form of, or the next step of where Agile practitioners should go. And for that also there will be a certification exam after the workshop. So yes, there are a lot of assessment tools that are there, not only with us, with also with PMIs. We being the partner of choice for PMI, we've been interested with the assessment part. We'll be happy to assist you further if you have any particular questions. So not only do we have assessment of fundamentals of Agile, Lean and Disciplined Agile, but going forward, Pro PMO has also invested in um, how do you assess the project management maturity of an organization, even at higher levels at program and portfolio. So we have a framework, we have a platform for organizational process maturity model that Atik was mentioning. It's called as OPM3. It's a flagmark product from PMI. It's been typically working in the industry for more than 10-15 years, where organizations themselves can get assessed for maturity levels. And then the typical processes that we take an assessment, we figure out what the gaps are where the organization wants to go, and then the consultant will actually lay down a path where you can close these gaps and move across different levels of maturity. So I hope that covers all the question that you asked for. But if I have not been on the ball, please point out where, and we can attempt it again.
No, it very well. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any more questions?
Okay, in the meantime, I'm sure people would be wondering that, what does it take to, how much investment you need to do in the certification. So let me quickly take you through the cost structure for that. So it all depends, as Vishu sir asked, what is the, how do you assess your capability on Agile or Lean? Taking this forward, so PMI has defined a different model. There are 4 days course. One is foundation of Agile, foundation of Lean. On day 3, we have foundation of Disciplined Agile, and then day 4, you have choosing your wow. Okay. Obviously, if you are Agile and Lean certified, you can then go for only day 3 and day 4. If you are only Agile certified, then you can go with Lean day 2 and day 3 and day 4. And if you're Lean certified but not Agile certified, then you can go for day 1, day 3, and day 4. So we have a kind of a flexible structure for you, so that you only invest your time as well as money in things that you want to scale up for. And of course, if you don't know either of it, then you can always start from the day 1, and which will help you to go till day 4. And of course, that will include all the certification. This will be primarily around being a disciplined Agile Lean Scrum Master. Of course, there is a path to go to that level, where obviously you should be practicing Agile. If you're not practicing, then you start at the entry level. So it's kind of like, if most of the people who know how PMP works, you also have a CAPM, and then obviously then PMP, where you have gained certain experience in your work, and then in your and you have gone through the test as well. So similarly, you can over here you start with certified disciplined agilist, then you have certified disciplined agile practitioner, with obviously your experience. Then you also move to Scrum Master, and then of course you then move on to the Agile Coach. So that's what it has. The course fees also includes the certification exam fees, which is worth $200, and of course it includes all the GST. So that's how the fees have been structured. So what does it include? So if you can go to the next slide, Harisha, move on to the next one.
I think I have a question.
So, sorry, yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sorry to disturb you. For the assessment, see, if I have a 10-member team, I want to understand where there is level. Even though people have the certification, in the reality, people are not able to deliver what expected. So, out of 10, which level they are? So, based on that, we can put them in the courses. So, for that assessment, do you charge anything?
I think if you are going for a DA certification, I think then we will be able to help you with a complimentary assessment on where the people are,
Okay.
and then based on that, we will help you to tell you that okay. So once you have selected this course as a package, but I think this guy already has this knowledge and is good enough and has a whilst he has certification and he is able to practice as well. So I think he doesn't need probably a one-day kind of a foundation again on lean or agile, and then based on that accordingly select it. So it depends
Okay.
on the kind of arrangement that we go with.
Okay, fine. Thanks.
Okay, so what these workshops will have, right? So it will be obviously in person is obviously on pause right now due to Corona, but it will be mostly virtual workshops for the disciplined agile with the certification from PMI, which is obviously globally recognized. We now most of the times you must be knowing, the learning management systems are very monotonous. Like trainer is kind of delivering, the participants are hearing. If questions, you are mainly using chat or polls, all those things. But over here in ProPMO, we have defined a new thing called a learning circle. So over here, there'll be a lot of collaboration which is happening during the learning. It is not just one way; it is actually a two-way. Where and it is not like let's say even at the end of a topic kind of a thing. It is like a continuous learning which happens, and it doesn't stop from at the session. Even after post session, we have a 1 month kind of a continuous collaboration which is going on with the trainers, where you can continuously engage with the trainers. You can also collaborate with your peers. So let's say I'm there as a part of the course, and I also have Amit Jain with me. Then I can understand what's working in his organization. How can I utilize my organization to adopt the same best practices? So all those things can help to that platform of learning circle. And there will be a hands-on exercise, because all these guys you can only deliver when you have really practiced it practically. Otherwise, you will always be in the theoretical mode. Like I'll be honest enough. Like when I learned PMP, because there was a precursor that I should have been doing the projects in my organization as a part of my experience. Then only I can go for certification. It was easy, but I would be able to. I'd be like nowhere if I would have been learning a PMBOK and then trying to apply. I would be like definitely nowhere. So this is one differential thing which the Disciplined Agile has started. Like and especially what ProPMO is going to do is there'll be a hands-on learning. And what Harish was explaining it was in terms of the consulting part as well. So if if the organizations want to utilize this thing, then we can kind of help them contextualize to the actual work scenarios, how the Disciplined Agile bridges with the work that you have, and make sure that everybody in the organization is engaged. We also help them to make sure that we have the right people who are facilitating that. So there's a constant guidance coming through that, so that it's just not like okay, now we have trained you, now you are on your own. Of course not. In the current world, it doesn't work that way. You need certain kind of a facilitation to make sure you are on course to the goals that you are trying to achieve. Obviously, we'll also have the platform to help sure that we're able to collaborate and get the best results out of it. And it will be always be validated when we deliver it. So that will be the classic feedback of how it is going, the way we understand from the participants, from the organizations, that how it is working, and there'll be a constant continuous improvement which will be going on. So that's pretty much around how the business agility offerings that we have, which just not only focuses on training and the workshops, but we can also help you to take it forward within your organization as well. And just moving to the last slide. So these are basically the contact details. So in case if you're interested, you can always contact us. We are at marketing@propmoservices.com. We have a website as well. You have the contact details. You can see. You can always take a screenshot. There's a feature on GoToMeeting where you can just click on the camera icon and it will store a picture on your desktop. And sorry, and just since we have always sorry, we are already 10 minutes ahead of the session time. I would just open up to just check if any more questions if you have, guys. I think I would also like to hear from Mr. Thomas, sir. I think I know him. He's one of the experienced PMP and he has a lot of certifications. So I would also be happy to hear from you as well.
Yeah, thanks, Atik. Nothing from my side. It was a great session. Thanks for that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I think you may also want to mention that we have a couple of quizzes lined up for testing basics or fundamentals of Agile and also for Lean. And typically we haven't mentioned that as an SKU, but you and Rajaram can share with the participants that we are open to having their team members having a look, collaborate, or even take these quizzes. That's possible.
Super. Yeah, correct. So I think one of the things which we do, guys, okay, as a follow up from this session is we will constantly share you the information on where you are, how you want to scale up. Obviously, we'll also share you the artifacts from this session so that you can refer it in the future. So that the journey doesn't end. Like learning always is a continuous. So we'll definitely be happy to share all the artifacts and information that will aid you to make the decision or help you to gain more knowledge onto it. So that's all from my side. If any other questions anyone has?
Can we run the quiz right away? Amit, do you want to
Yes.
go ahead?
Yes, we can. So, okay. If you can again go to Slido, this time the event code is different. This is 22838.
You'll have to exit and join back.
Yeah, if you could just make me the presenter.
Yeah. In the meanwhile, I just wanted to quickly say that we also have the discounts for the people who have participated in the quiz and also who came in top 3. So we'll be offering discounts. So please go ahead and let us know if you are interested. We'll be offering you good discounts on the courses as well. Over to you, Amit.
Yeah. So the event ID this time is 22838. I have pasted that in the chat.
Screen, Amit?
Yep, I have not received this thing yet. I'm not able to do that. If you could just make me the presenter.
You can give the URL and if people are having any trouble joining before you start the quiz.
Right. So this is.
I'm doing that for you, Amit.
Yep. No, I've shown that on the screen now. The QR code is there, and then event ID is also there. There are 5 people who have already joined now. We'll wait for say 30 seconds. This time again we have 4 questions, but this time you will get 15 seconds to answer each of the question. I can see 5 people have joined. Atik, Rajaram, Harish, you also want to join?
Yep. Join.
Shall I start?
Yep.
Go ahead, Amit. I have some trouble joining, but I will catch up.
Okay. So here is the first question. Correct. All of the people said the correct answer. Next question. Okay, all of the participants have answered it as yes. The correct answer is yes. Next question. We will show the leaderboard at the end only. Okay, correct answer is yes, and everyone has answered it correctly. We'll go to the next question, which is the last one. Okay, done. So the correct answer is yes, and let me show the leaderboard. So it's Atik, Uman, and then Neha. Oh, sorry, Sandesh is the one who answered all the questions, and there is a Atik, and Atik also answered those questions, but Sandesh was faster. So Sandesh is the winner. Congratulations, Sandesh.
Yeah, and just to let you know, guys, I never had any idea about these questions or the presentation.
That's right. Okay, great. Over to you, Atik.
Super. So thank you, guys. Thank you for joining the session today. Apologies, it went for long and the confusion we had around the attendee, the meeting invite link. Obviously, that's a learning, and we want to improvise that further. If you want to join the course, if you want to know more about Disciplined Agile, how it works, if you want to adopt these practices in your organization and want to understand how to help, how to do it, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be more than glad to assist you. We also have other services around internal, like developing your internal resources, as well as helping you hiring. So anything that you need around from the offerings that we have, please feel free to reach out to us. Our email ID is marketing@propmoservices.com. Thanks for joining, guys. Appreciate your time, and you have a good day.
If anybody wants to share any feedback, we are open to that. They can actually do it right now on the call, or they can send you information over email.
Sure. Anyone has any inputs? I guess we are good then. So thanks, guys. Thank you for joining, and have a great day. In case if you have any feedback, again, open to that. And you can also go to our LinkedIn website, where you can go ahead and give us the information, your suggestions, your feedback, and your appreciations as well, if any. So looking forward to that. Thanks, guys. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thanks all.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity. Wonderful. Have a nice day.